Honda reveals its 2026 engine with secret details. Audi launches new livery with a twist, and VCARB does its first test on the 2026 F1 car. Let's get into the latest F1 news. What's happening, Formula One fans? We've got some absolutely massive news coming out of Japan that could completely shake up the 2026 season before it even starts. Honda just dropped their brand new engine, and along with it, some seriously spicy comments about potential loopholes that have the entire paddock buzzing. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one because what we're about to uncover could change everything we thought we knew about the upcoming regulation changes. So picture this. Honda executives are standing on stage in Tokyo, unveiling their shiny new RA626H power unit for 2026, when they basically admit that they're pushing the rules to the absolute breaking point. And they're not alone. Aston Martin's Andy Cowell just confirmed that every single manufacturer is doing the exact same thing. We're talking about a potential arms race here that could make or break teams before the season even begins. Let me break down what's actually happening here, because this is where things get really interesting. The FIA has set specific rules for the 2026 power units, including something called compression ratios. Now, here's where it gets technical, but stay with me because this is crucial. The regulations state that engines must have a compression ratio of 16:1, and this measurement is taken at ambient temperature. Sounds straightforward, right? Well, that's where the controversy begins. Some manufacturers have apparently figured out that once these engines heat up on track, which they obviously do during racing, that compression ratio might change significantly. And here's the kicker. If you can exploit this temperature difference, you could potentially gain substantial power and fuel efficiency advantages. We're talking about potentially game-changing performance gains that could determine who dominates the new era. Honda's president Koji Watanabe didn't hold back when discussing this situation. Through a translator, he essentially said that the new regulations have tons of room for interpretation, and that's just part of racing. He mentioned that Honda has numerous different ideas they want to discuss with the FIA to see what's acceptable and what crosses the line. This isn't just Honda being cautious. This is Honda admitting they're actively exploring every possible advantage they can find within the regulations. But Honda isn't the only one playing this game. Andy Cowell from Aston Martin, who has serious credibility having helped develop Mercedes' dominant hybrid power unit back in 2014, made it crystal clear that every manufacturer is pushing these rules to their absolute limits. He specifically mentioned compression ratio as a key thermal efficiency factor that everyone is maximizing. When someone with Cowell's background and experience says everyone is doing it, you better believe it's true. Now, here's where this gets really concerning for the sport. We're potentially looking at a situation where two manufacturers might have found a significant loophole that could give them a massive head start in 2026. Remember, new regulation cycles in Formula One often create dominant periods for whoever gets it right. Think Mercedes from 2014 to 2020, or Red Bull's recent dominance. If certain manufacturers have indeed found a way to circumvent the compression ratio rules, we could be looking at another period of total domination. The implications go way beyond just engine performance, too. Teams have been preparing for 2026 with specific expectations about power unit capabilities. If some manufacturers suddenly have significantly more power or better fuel efficiency, it completely changes the entire competitive landscape. Teams that thought they were making smart decisions about aerodynamics, weight distribution, and overall car philosophy might find themselves completely outgunned through no fault of their own. What makes this situation even more intriguing is the timing. Honda is making their return as a full factory partner with Aston Martin, ending their somewhat distant relationship with Red Bull. This new partnership represents a massive investment and commitment from both sides. For Honda to be this open about pushing regulatory boundaries suggests they're absolutely determined to make a statement with their return. They're not coming back to be also-rans. The technical aspects of what we're discussing here are fascinating when you really dig into them. Compression ratio fundamentally affects how efficiently an engine burns fuel and converts that energy into power. Higher compression ratios generally mean better thermal efficiency, which translates to more power from the same amount of fuel. In a sport where fuel flow and total fuel usage are strictly regulated, even small efficiency gains become enormously valuable. But here's the thing about temperature-related loopholes. They're incredibly difficult to police effectively. How do you monitor compression ratios when engines are at full racing temperature and under extreme stress? The FIA would need sophisticated monitoring systems and potentially new testing procedures to catch violations. This creates a cat-and-mouse game between manufacturers trying to exploit gray areas and regulators trying to maintain fairness. Watanabe's comments about regulations not having everything listed clearly really hit the nail on the head. Formula One regulations are incredibly complex documents, but they can't possibly anticipate every possible interpretation or technological development. Manufacturers employ some of the smartest engineers in the world, and their job is literally to find every possible advantage within the rules. When you combine that level of expertise with the massive financial incentives involved, you get exactly this kind of situation. The role of the FIA becomes absolutely critical here. As Cowell pointed out, they have the responsibility to ensure everyone interprets the regulations fairly and equally. But that's easier said than done when you're dealing with incredibly sophisticated technology and billions of dollars in development costs. The governing body needs to make decisions that could potentially invalidate years of development work from major manufacturers. What's particularly interesting is how open both Honda and Aston Martin are being about this situation. Usually, teams and manufacturers are incredibly secretive about potential advantages they might have found. The fact that they're discussing this publicly suggests either they're confident in their interpretations or they're trying to force the FIA's hand before significant resources are committed to questionable development paths. This transparency might actually be strategic. By bringing these concerns into the open now, manufacturers might be trying to get clarity from the FIA before they invest even more heavily in potentially illegal technologies. It's better to have these discussions now than to show up at the first race of 2026 only to have your engine declared illegal. The broader context here is that Formula One is entering another major technical revolution in 2026. We're getting new power unit regulations, dramatically different aerodynamics with active aero systems, and significant changes to car design philosophy. In such periods of change, the manufacturers and teams that best navigate the regulatory landscape often gain advantages that last for years. For fans, this creates both excitement and concern. On one hand, we love technical innovation and the chess match between manufacturers trying to outsmart each other and the regulations. On the other hand, nobody wants to see the sport become predictable because one or two manufacturers found a loophole that gives them an insurmountable advantage. The compression ratio controversy is just the beginning of what promises to be a fascinating period leading up to 2026. As manufacturers finalize their power unit designs and teams develop their chassis around these engines, every technical decision becomes magnified. The manufacturers who get this right won't just win races, they'll potentially control the entire competitive landscape for years to come. This situation perfectly exemplifies why Formula One remains the pinnacle of motorsport technology. Where else do you see this level of technical sophistication combined with such intense competition and massive financial stakes? The fact that we're having debates about compression ratios measured at different temperatures shows just how advanced and precise this sport has become. As we move closer to 2026, expect these kinds of technical controversies to intensify. The FIA will need to make crucial decisions about what's acceptable and what crosses the line, while manufacturers will continue pushing every boundary they can find. For Honda and Aston Martin, this represents their chance to make a statement and potentially reshape the competitive order. The next few months will be absolutely critical in determining how this all plays out. Something absolutely massive just happened at Imola, and if you're an F1 fan, you need to see this. Racing Bulls has just given us our first proper look at their 2026 car in action, and let me tell you, this changes everything we thought we knew about the upcoming season. Picture this: the iconic Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari circuit echoing with the sound of F1 machinery once again. But this time, it's not just any car hitting the tarmac. The VCARB E03, Racing Bull's weapon for the revolutionary 2026 season, has broken cover, and Liam Lawson was the man trusted with the keys to this beast. Now, before we dive deep into what this means for the sport, let me explain why this moment is so significant. We're standing at the precipice of the biggest rule changes Formula One has seen in decades. The 2026 regulations promise to transform everything from aerodynamics to power units, and Racing Bulls just fired the starting gun on this new era. The team utilized one of their two precious demonstration opportunities at Imola, and trust me, they didn't waste it. These demonstration events are like gold dust in the F1 world. Teams are only allowed 2 per year, and most save at least 1 for pre-season testing to shake down their new machinery. It's a chance to iron out the kinks, test systems, and get that crucial first taste of how their engineering concepts translate to real-world performance. What makes this even more intriguing is the choice of venue. Imola isn't just any circuit. This is where legends are made, where careers are defined, and where the margin for error is razor thin. The fact that Racing Bulls chose this challenging track for their first outing tells us they're confident in their package. Or perhaps they're using the unforgiving nature of Imola to stress test their systems right from the get-go. Liam Lawson behind the wheel adds another layer of excitement to this story. The young New Zealander has been steadily building his reputation in F1, and being entrusted with the first laps of a completely new generation of car speaks volumes about the faith Racing Bulls has in his abilities. This isn't just a shakedown run. It's a statement about who they see as a key part of their future. But here's where things get really interesting. What we witnessed at Imola is just the appetizer. Racing Bulls announced they'll be back at the circuit for a second day of running, this time utilizing one of their filming days. Now, you might think filming days are just for pretty shots and promotional material, but you'd be wrong. These sessions are strategic gold mines. Recent regulatory changes have doubled the allowance for filming days from 100 to 200 kilometers of track time. That might not sound like much, but in F1 terms, that's pure treasure. Every kilometer of data collection at this stage is worth its weight in championship points later in the season. Teams use these opportunities to validate their simulation work, check correlation between their wind tunnel data and real-world performance, and spot any gremlins that might be hiding in their systems. The timing of this test is absolutely crucial. With official testing beginning in Barcelona in just 6 days, Racing Bulls is getting a head start on their rivals. January 26th through 30th will see all teams converge on the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya for 5 days of intense testing, but Racing Bulls will arrive with valuable track time already under their belts. Team boss Alain Permain dropped some fascinating insights about what we can expect from this development race. He's predicting a frenetic pace of updates in the early stages of the new regulations, with teams bringing significant changes even for the season opener in Melbourne. This isn't unusual for a new rules cycle, but it highlights just how much is at stake. Think about it this way. Every team has been working with the same basic rulebook, but interpretation and execution will separate the winners from the also-rans. Permain's comments about keeping cars in the wind tunnel as long as possible reveal the delicate balancing act teams face. Develop too early, and you might miss performance gains. Develop too late, and you risk not having enough time to properly validate and integrate your updates. The interconnected nature of F1 car development that Permain describes is mind-boggling. Engine installation affects radiator placement, which influences side pod design, which impacts floor aerodynamics, which determines downforce generation. It's like a mechanical domino effect, where changing one element ripples through the entire car concept. What's particularly exciting about the 2026 regulations is how they're reshaping the entire competitive landscape. We're not just talking about evolutionary changes here. These are revolutionary alterations that could shuffle the deck completely. Teams that have dominated recent years might find themselves struggling while others could emerge as unexpected contenders. The aerodynamic changes for 2026 are especially significant. The new rules aim to improve wheel-to-wheel racing while maintaining the spectacular performance levels that make F1 special. Active aerodynamics will play a bigger role, allowing cars to optimize their configuration for different parts of the circuit. This technology could be absolutely game-changing for overtaking opportunities and race strategy. Power unit regulations are also evolving, with an increased emphasis on electrical power and sustainable fuels. This isn't just about performance. It's about F1's commitment to environmental responsibility while maintaining its position as the pinnacle of motorsport technology. The balance between internal combustion engines and electrical systems will create new challenges and opportunities for teams and drivers alike. From a strategic standpoint, Racing Bull's early running could provide crucial advantages. Data gathered during these initial sessions will inform development directions for the entire season. In a championship where marginal gains often determine success, having extra correlation data between simulation and reality could be the difference between points and podiums. The psychological impact shouldn't be underestimated either. While other teams are still putting finishing touches on their cars or waiting for parts, Racing Bulls has already taken the bold step of hitting the track. This sends a message to competitors and demonstrates confidence in their preparation process. Looking ahead to the Barcelona test, expectations will be sky high. 5 days of official testing might seem generous, but with completely new cars and regulations, teams will be cramming months of typical testing into less than a week. Every session will be precious, every lap will generate crucial data, and every small problem could have major implications for early season competitiveness. The pressure on drivers will be immense too. They'll need to adapt to new car characteristics, provide detailed feedback to engineers, and help develop the vehicles while simultaneously preparing for the season opener. It's a masterclass in multitasking under pressure. What makes this even more compelling is the human element. These aren't just machines. They're the product of thousands of hours of human ingenuity, creativity, and determination. Every aerodynamic surface, every mechanical component, every software algorithm represents someone's best effort to find that extra tenth of a second that could determine championship outcomes. Racing Bulls hitting the track first also reflects the broader narrative of F1's evolution. Teams are becoming increasingly sophisticated in their approach to development cycles, testing strategies, and resource allocation. The days of throwing cars together and hoping for the best are long gone, replaced by methodical, data-driven approaches that leave nothing to chance. As we stand on the brink of this new era, Racing Bulls has shown us a glimpse of the future, and it looks absolutely spectacular. The 2026 season promises to be one of the most competitive and unpredictable in recent memory, and what happened at Imola is just the beginning of what should be an incredible journey. What if I told you that one Formula One driver could pocket an extra €50,000 every single time he crosses the finish line in the points this season? We're talking about serious money here, and it all comes down to one man, one team, and one of the most intriguing contract structures we've seen in recent years. Nico Hülkenberg has just signed what might be the most performance-driven deal in modern Formula One with Audi, and the numbers are absolutely staggering. But here's what makes this story even more fascinating. This isn't just about money. This is about how the entire landscape of Formula One is shifting, and why this contract could signal a massive change in how drivers get paid across the grid. Let me paint you the full picture of what's happening here, because this goes way deeper than just another driver contract. We're witnessing the birth of a new era in Formula One, where traditional manufacturer muscle meets cutting-edge technology, and where driver compensation is becoming more tied to actual performance than ever before. Nico Hülkenberg, the veteran German driver who's been chasing his first Formula One victory for over a decade, has reportedly secured a deal with Audi that includes a performance bonus of €50,000 for every single championship point he scores in the upcoming season. Now, that might not sound like a fortune when you consider the base salaries these drivers command, but let me break down why this is actually revolutionary. Think about it this way. In a typical season, a competitive driver might score anywhere from 30 to 80 points depending on their car's performance. At €50,000 per point, we're talking about potential bonus earnings ranging from €1.5 million to €4 million. That's not pocket change, even by Formula One standards. But here's where it gets really interesting. Last season, when Hülkenberg was still driving for the team that's now become Audi, he managed to score 51 championship points. Under this new contract structure, that performance would have netted him an additional €2.5 million in bonuses alone. And remember, that was with a car that wasn't exactly setting the world on fire in terms of competitiveness. Now, you might be wondering, why would Audi structure a contract this way? The answer reveals something fascinating about the current state of Formula One and where the sport is heading. Audi isn't just buying their way into Formula One. They're making a statement about performance-based compensation that could reshape how teams approach driver contracts across the entire grid. This isn't the first time we've seen performance bonuses tied to points, but the scale here is unprecedented. When Kimi Räikkönen was driving for Lotus back in the early 2010s, he had a similar €50,000 per point bonus structure. But here's the kicker. That arrangement led to serious financial problems for the team when Räikkönen started performing well. The bonuses became so expensive that Lotus struggled to pay them, leading to threats of boycotts and eventually Räikkönen's departure to Ferrari. The difference now is that Audi has the financial backing to actually honor these commitments. We're talking about one of the world's largest automotive manufacturers, with resources that dwarf what Lotus had available. This means Hülkenberg can actually count on getting paid when he performs, which creates a completely different dynamic. But let's talk about why this matters for the sport as a whole. Formula One is entering what many consider the most significant regulatory reset in decades. The cars are completely different for this season, with new aerodynamic systems, sustainable fuel requirements, and a 50-50 split between electric and combustion power. This creates an opportunity for teams like Audi to potentially outperform expectations. When regulations change this dramatically, the competitive order often gets shuffled. Teams that were at the back of the grid can suddenly find themselves competing for podiums, while traditional powerhouses might struggle to adapt. Audi knows this, and they're betting that their fresh perspective and massive resources can help them capitalize on this regulatory reset. From Hülkenberg's perspective, this contract structure is brilliant. He's been one of Formula One's most consistent performers without a victory, often called the best driver never to win a race. Now he's in a position where his natural speed and racecraft could translate directly into significant financial rewards, even if he doesn't win races. The psychological impact of this arrangement shouldn't be underestimated either. When a driver knows that every position gained in the final laps could mean €50,000, it creates an intensity and motivation that goes beyond just professional pride. We're likely to see Hülkenberg driving with a desperation and hunger that could make him one of the most exciting drivers to watch this season. What's particularly fascinating is how this compares to what other top drivers are earning. Recent reports suggest that drivers like Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri earned the majority of their compensation through performance bonuses rather than base salaries. Norris reportedly took home nearly $40 million last year, with most of that coming from bonuses tied to McLaren's championship success. This trend toward performance-based compensation represents a fundamental shift in how Formula One teams think about talent investment. Instead of paying massive guaranteed salaries and hoping for results, teams are increasingly tying compensation directly to on-track success. It aligns incentives perfectly and ensures that the biggest earners are the drivers who actually deliver results. For Audi, this contract structure also serves as a public statement of confidence. They're essentially saying they believe their package will be competitive enough for Hülkenberg to score significant points. If they thought they were building a backmarker car, they never would have agreed to such generous performance bonuses. The timing of this revelation is particularly interesting given that we're just seeing the first glimpses of these new cars in action. Early reports from Audi's shakedown run suggest their car sounds impressive and looks competitive. But the real test will come when the season begins and we see how all these new regulations play out on track. There's also a broader narrative here about veteran drivers getting second chances. Hülkenberg is 37 years old, an age when many drivers are considering retirement. Instead, he's potentially positioned to earn more money than ever before in his career, purely based on performance. It's a testament to his enduring speed and professionalism that Audi would structure such an aggressive bonus system around his driving. Looking ahead, This contract could set a precedent that ripples throughout the paddock. Other drivers and their representatives will be watching closely to see how this arrangement works out. If Hulkenberg has a successful season and earns substantial bonuses, we could see similar performance-based structures become the norm rather than the exception. The beauty of this situation is that everyone wins if Hulkenberg performs well. He gets paid handsomely for his results, Audi gets the on-track success they're investing in, and fans get to watch a motivated driver pushing absolutely everything out of his car every single weekend. It's the kind of alignment that makes for compelling sports entertainment. So as we head into this new season with its revolutionary regulations and reshuffled competitive order, keep your eyes on Nico Hulkenberg. Every point he scores isn't just moving him up the championship table. It's putting serious money in his pocket and potentially changing how the entire sport thinks about driver compensation. This is Formula One evolution in real time, and it's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch unfold. Picture this. McLaren just pulled off the impossible. After years of struggling in the shadows, they've climbed back to the summit of Formula One, claiming both championship titles in 2025. Lando Norris finally has that coveted #1 on his car, and Oscar Piastri helped deliver the Constructors' Championship. The team is flying high, celebrating their first championship double since 1998. But here's the kicker that nobody saw coming. None of it matters anymore. Welcome back to the channel, racing fans. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories in Formula One history. Just when McLaren reaches the peak of their powers, Formula One is about to hit the reset button in the most dramatic way possible. The 2026 season brings the biggest technical overhaul the sport has ever seen, and every single advantage McLaren has built could disappear overnight. But here's what makes this story incredible. While other teams might be panicking about starting from scratch, McLaren's boss Zak Brown is absolutely thrilled about it. He's not just ready for this challenge, he's embracing it with open arms, and the reason why might surprise you. Let's start with understanding exactly what's changing in 2026, because these aren't your typical rule tweaks. We're talking about a complete revolution. The new cars will be 20 centimeters shorter and 30 kilograms lighter than what we've been watching. But that's just the beginning of the transformation. The real game changer is active aerodynamics. Imagine wings that can adjust themselves during the race, constantly optimizing for maximum performance. These aren't static pieces of carbon fiber anymore. They're dynamic, intelligent systems that respond to track conditions and racing situations in real time. Then there's the power unit revolution. The engines will run entirely on sustainable fuel, which sounds simple but requires completely rethinking how teams approach power delivery. The split between electric and combustion power is shifting to 50-50, meaning half of a car's power will come from electric motors. This isn't just an environmental statement. It fundamentally changes how drivers manage their cars throughout a race. Gone is the DRS system we've known for over a decade. In its place comes something called overtake mode, which only activates when you're within 1 second of the car ahead in specific zones. But there's also a new boost mode that drivers can use anywhere on the track for extra power. Think of it as having 2 different types of weapons in your arsenal, each with their own strategic implications. For context, this technical reset is more dramatic than anything Formula One has attempted before. The ground effect era that just ended ran from 2022 to 2025, giving teams 4 years to develop and refine their understanding. Now everyone goes back to square one, and the team that figures out these new rules fastest will have a massive advantage. This is where McLaren's journey becomes truly remarkable. Just think about where this team was not that long ago. They were struggling at the back of the grid, making headlines for all the wrong reasons. The transformation they've undergone isn't just about the car. It's about rebuilding an entire organization from the ground up. Zak Brown has overseen this renaissance, and his perspective on the 2026 reset reveals something profound about champions versus pretenders. While other team principals might be frustrated about losing their competitive advantages, Brown sees this as the most exciting aspect of Formula One. His exact words were that having to do it all over again is what makes this sport special. But there's deeper wisdom in Brown's approach. He points out that McLaren didn't just stumble into success. They earned it through years of grinding work. The The technical team didn't rest on their laurels even when they were winning. They continued developing and improving, understanding that standing still in Formula One means going backward. What's fascinating is how Brown emphasizes the complexity behind the scenes. Most fans see the drivers and the cars, but there's an entire ecosystem that makes success possible. The chief financial officer, head of human resources, commercial team, communications department. Every single department has to excel for the racing team to have the tools they need to win. This holistic approach to excellence explains why Brown is confident about 2026. McLaren didn't just build a fast car. They built a winning organization. When the rules change, the car knowledge becomes obsolete, but organizational excellence transfers over. The competitive landscape makes this even more challenging. As Brown notes, there are no more small teams in Formula One. Every single team on the grid is operating at the cost cap limit, meaning everyone has similar resources. The days of dominant teams simply outspending their rivals are over. Success now comes down to making smarter decisions with the same budget as everyone else. This creates an incredibly tight competitive environment. The worst team in Formula One today is still remarkably sophisticated and capable. When the 2026 reset happens, any of the 11 teams could emerge as the new powerhouse. Traditional hierarchies could completely flip overnight. The Mercedes connection adds another layer of intrigue to McLaren's 2026 prospects. Both McLaren and Mercedes will be running Mercedes power units, creating an interesting dynamic. While they're technically rivals, they'll share the same engine philosophy and characteristics. The first indication of Mercedes' 2026 competitiveness will come when McLaren hits the track. Testing begins in late January with a closed-door session in Spain, followed by open tests in Bahrain during February. These sessions will provide the first real glimpse of which teams have cracked the new formula. The Australian Grand Prix on March 8th will mark the beginning of this new era. But here's what makes Brown's confidence so compelling. It's not based on hoping their current advantage carries over. It's based on trusting the process they've built. McLaren has proven they can climb from the bottom to the top once, and that's infinitely harder than defending a position you've already earned. The psychological aspect cannot be understated. Some teams will approach 2026 with the pressure of defending their current status. McLaren approaches it with the confidence of knowing they can build something from nothing. That's a fundamentally different mindset that could prove decisive when everyone starts from zero. Consider the broader implications for Formula One as a sport. This reset ensures that no single team can maintain dominance indefinitely. It keeps the competition fresh and unpredictable, giving fans hope that their favorite team might suddenly emerge as a championship contender. The sustainable fuel requirement also signals Formula One's commitment to environmental responsibility without sacrificing performance. The sport is showing that high-performance motorsport and environmental consciousness can coexist, potentially influencing automotive development worldwide. Looking ahead, the teams that succeed in 2026 will be those that best understand the interaction between active aerodynamics, the new power units, and strategic use of boost and overtake modes. It's not enough to have one strong area. Everything must work in harmony. McLaren's journey from backmarker to champion gives them unique insight into what it takes to build a winning formula from scratch. They've done it once in the current era, proving their organizational capabilities extend beyond lucky development decisions. As we approach this monumental shift in Formula One, remember that champions aren't defined by their equipment. They're defined by their ability to adapt and excel regardless of circumstances. McLaren has earned their confidence the hard way, and that might be exactly what it takes to succeed when the 2026 revolution begins. The stage is set for one of the most competitive and unpredictable seasons in Formula One history. Every team starts equal, every advantage gets erased, and the best organization will rise to the top. Based on McLaren's recent transformation, they might just be ready for whatever comes next. Picture this. The legendary German automotive giant Audi has just fired their first shots across the Formula One battlefield, and they're not pulling any punches. After decades of dominating endurance racing and revolutionizing automotive technology, The four rings are finally ready to conquer the pinnacle of motorsport. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. They're playing the long game in ways that will completely redefine what it means to be a works team in modern Formula One. What happened today changes everything we thought we knew about manufacturer entries into Formula One. While other brands have stumbled into the sport with grand promises, only to retreat with their tails between their legs, Audi is writing an entirely different playbook. They've just unveiled their R26 livery, and alongside it, delivered a mission statement so bold and calculated that it sent shockwaves through the entire paddock. But before we dive into why this announcement has every team, principal from Maranello to Brackley, losing sleep tonight, let me paint you the complete picture of what just unfolded. Because what Audi revealed isn't just about pretty colors or marketing speak. It's about a fundamental shift in how manufacturers are approaching Formula One success. The man at the center of this automotive revolution is Jonathan Wheatley, a name that should terrify the competition. This isn't some corporate suit parachuted in from Ingolstadt's boardroom. Wheatley has championship DNA coursing through his veins, having tasted victory at the highest levels with Benetton, Renault, and Red Bull Racing. When he speaks about winning, it's not aspirational rhetoric, it's a promise backed by decades of proven success. Standing before the cameras in Berlin, Wheatley delivered what can only be described as a declaration of war disguised as a press conference. His words were measured, deliberate, and absolutely chilling for anyone hoping Audi would follow the traditional manufacturer playbook of overpromising and under-delivering. The visual statement Audi made with their R26 livery tells a story of sophistication and aggression in perfect harmony. The titanium shade flowing across the front sections creates an almost liquid metal appearance that screams premium engineering. But it's the strategic placement of lava red accents that reveals Audi's true intentions. This isn't just about looking good for the cameras. It's about psychological warfare. The contrast between the light titanium front and the aggressive black rear, punctuated by those unmistakable four rings, creates a visual metaphor for Audi's entire approach. Beautiful and sophisticated at first glance, but with an underlying darkness that promises ruthless competition. Every design element was chosen to send a message. We're here to disrupt everything you think you know about this sport. What makes Audi's entry fundamentally different from every other manufacturer attempt in recent memory is their timeline. While others have rushed in making impossible promises about immediate success, Audi has committed to a methodical progression that should have everyone else absolutely terrified. They're not promising to win next year, or even the year after that. They're promising to win by 2030, and they're building every single decision around that ultimate goal. This timeline reveals something profound about how Audi understands Formula One success. They recognize that sustainable championship-winning performance isn't about throwing money at the problem until it goes away. It's about building systems, cultures, and capabilities that compound over time into an unstoppable force. The transformation from Sauber to Audi represents one of the most comprehensive manufacturer takeovers in Formula One history. While the Swiss team struggled for years as midfield runners, accepting points finishes as victories, Audi is systematically dismantling that mentality and replacing it with something far more dangerous. Wheatley's background becomes crucial here because he understands exactly what championship-caliber teams feel like from the inside. He knows the difference between teams that hope for good results and teams that expect to win every single weekend. That experience is now being weaponized to transform every aspect of the Audi operation. The infrastructure investment Audi has made tells the real story of their commitment level. While their main operations continue at the traditional Hinwil base, they've simultaneously developed a state-of-the-art power unit facility in Neuburg, Germany, and established a cutting-edge technology center in Bicester, England. This isn't just about buying a team and slapping their logo on it. They're building a completely integrated works operation from the ground up. The power unit development represents perhaps the most crucial element of Audi's long-term strategy. By developing their own engines rather than becoming a customer team, they're ensuring complete control over their technical destiny. Every component, every software algorithm, every reliability improvement serves their specific championship ambitions rather than someone else's priorities. When Wheatley talks about embedding championship DNA into every fiber of the team, he's describing a cultural transformation that goes far beyond replacing personnel or updating equipment. He's talking about changing the fundamental mindset from acceptance of mediocrity to an obsessive pursuit of perfection that characterizes every successful Formula One operation. The psychological aspect of Audi's approach deserves special attention because it reveals sophisticated understanding of Formula One politics and competition. By setting realistic timelines and managing expectations, they're avoiding the trap that has claimed so many other manufacturer efforts. There's no pressure to deliver miracle results immediately, which means they can focus entirely on building sustainable competitive advantages. This patient approach also sends a message to the current championship contenders that Audi isn't going away. They're not a flash-in-the-pan manufacturer looking for quick marketing wins. They're a permanent new threat that will only grow stronger with each passing season, making them perhaps the most dangerous new entry Formula One has ever seen. The technical regulations changing for 2026 provide Audi with a unique opportunity that no other new manufacturer has enjoyed in decades. Instead of entering an established formula where development paths are well-worn and advantages difficult to find, they're entering alongside completely new regulations that level the playing field. Every team will be learning and adapting simultaneously, giving Audi's engineering excellence room to shine immediately. The timing of their entry also coincides with Formula One's continued global expansion and commercial growth. They're not joining a declining sport looking for relevance. They're joining the world's fastest-growing major motorsport property at the perfect moment to maximize their investment returns while building toward championship success. As Audi prepares for their first official testing at Barcelona's Circuit de Catalunya, the rest of the paddock will be watching with intense interest and growing concern. Those 3 days of running between January 26th and 30th represent the first real glimpse of what Audi's championship ambitions look like when translated into on-track performance. The 2026 season won't be about Audi winning races or championships. It will be about establishing the foundation for inevitable future dominance. Every lap, every data point, every lesson learned will be methodically incorporated into their relentless march toward championship glory by 2030. What Audi has accomplished today is far more significant than simply unveiling a new livery or making bold statements. They've announced their intention to fundamentally alter the competitive balance of Formula One through patient, systematic, and absolutely ruthless execution of a championship-winning strategy that should have every current frontrunner genuinely concerned about their long-term prospects in this sport.